So I just turned 26, and the last time I made a video about my age, it got a very heartfelt reception. So we're going to do it all over again, this time about what I learned over the course of my 25th lap around the sun. This whole past year leading up to 26 felt like a light switch was flipped on. A lot of things simultaneously started to click for me, and the only explanation I have for it, really, is that sometime during your 25th year, your brain fully develops. And here on the screen before you, I will share the big-brained revelations that my prefrontal cortex gifted me with. So before I share how life has changed at 26, I wanted to share one thing that hasn't changed, and that's Wealthfront's support of my channel, my message, and people's financial futures. Wealthfront, unlike a lot of other sponsors out there, doesn't stand in the way of whatever hot takes, rants, or life crises I may want to share in a video. And that kind of trust, that's the kind of financial institution that I would want to partner with. And maybe you would too if you're the kind of person that wants to make sure they're working on their financial security without having it become a whole part-time job just to manage it. As an automated investing service, Wealthfront's expertly designed software creates a portfolio for you that's fitted to your goals and then manages that for you over time so that you don't have to bend over backwards for an ever-changing market. And if you want to get more specific with what you're actually investing in, for example, maybe you want a more socially responsible portfolio, or you want to put more of your money in a certain industry, they make it easy to customize and tailor your portfolio according to those interests if you have them. Plus, all of the investments they offer have been vetted by hand by their research team, so you know they have your back. To get going, it's a minimum $500 deposit to start off with their investing service. But with my link, wealthfront.com/Katherout, you're gonna have zero advisory fees on that $500 and up to the first $5,000 that you manage with them. I will have my link in the description if you're interested. Thanks again to Wealthfront, and now on to my quarter-century revelations. First, my relationship to substances changed. Before this year, I don't think I recognized that I even had a relationship to substances because I haven't had disordered use of alcohol or weed or even caffeine, but that doesn't mean the role they play in my life shouldn't be examined. And suddenly I found myself asking, why am I doing these things? In the least judgmental way possible towards myself, just questioning what's the motivation here? Is it because I want to numb out and use this as just another unhealthy coping mechanism in the rotation? Or am I doing it because I want to be considered one of them while out with friends or coworkers? Just resoundingly, have I ever even been a free thinker? Because we have all been heavily propagandized both ways, and I don't think I saw this clearly until last year. Growing up, at least in the United States, there's DARE. There is Nancy Reagan's Just Say No. And this sense that drugs, alcohol were evil, sinful, immoral, demonic. And so I was distinctively resistant for a long time until I entered drinking culture in college, where binge drinking wasn't called binge drinking. That was just drinking. It was so normalized, I couldn't fathom that what everyone around me was doing was binging. And that was really until I read Quit Like a Woman last year, before it was featured in Just Like That, may I add. And in plain text, it establishes how much big alcohol is advertising to us and targetedly exploiting marginalized communities in some really insidious ways. And at that point, it's hard to separate what exactly you want to do and what exactly has just been fed to you. At this point, I can say I've properly educated myself on how these substances may be emotionally dysregulating me and fueling flare-ups of my chronic illness and mental illness. And ultimately, at this point, I have built awareness of the value of prioritizing sobriety, or at least properly weighing the consequences. Some of the people I admire most in the world are sober, and I am starting to understand why. Number 2, I am markedly anti-rushing. And I'm not talking about Uzma Kappa. I'm talking about busyness for the sake of busyness. I hate now the pace of life that I used to enjoy at 18, 19, 20. I was filling up my calendar to the brim, leaving me no time to decompress, always going, never stopping, and I had convinced myself that I was thriving while dashing around. And for whatever reason, I don't have that same ability level anymore. Even if cognitively I can handle the pace, physically I'm playing catch up. And it's a slippery slope because nobody wants you to slow down, because our global economy values your labor and your consumption and your screen time to the point where if I am not actively resisting that every day, I end up on the edge of overwhelm and I fall off the cliff without even knowing it. It's so easy for me to rubber band back to the hustle culture I used to enjoy. And I'm getting tired of it being reactive after a depressive episode that I decide to clean up my act and slow down again. Like, I want to be able to keep the treadmill at 3 miles an hour and not be tempted by our global system of capital to go faster, climb higher, add more intensity. It's a constant resistance that you have to be proactive about. Slowing down to take care of yourself doesn't quite deliver the same hits of adrenaline that rushing around and clicking through every app on your phone does, but it's worth it. Number 3, I've come to identify the wet blankets in my life and stop sharing my hopes and dreams and risks with them. I've become very Julia Cameron-pilled at the tender age of 25 and now 26. Listen, I love my friends dearly. Everybody's dealing with their own shit, though. Some are more willing to relentlessly support your dreams, and some are just too caught up with their own ego and insecurities to refrain from projecting their own fear-based thinking onto you. And I get it, because I've been there, and I continue to be there. However, I, not surprisingly, am a very sensitive soul. You may have gathered that from my date of birth, February 28th. That is right, smack in the middle of Pisces territory. I am really susceptible to doubt, especially in the infancy of new creative work or new projects or new plans, because in many ways, my ego is always looking for a good justification to self-sabotage. And a wet blanket's lack of validation is just a perfect ticket for me to jump ship. And so I am so careful now about who I let into my circle of trust. And that is why Julia Cameron, who wrote The Artist's Way and introduced me to this concept, says to move silently amongst doubters. Number 4 is I've started to loosen my grip on negative self-talk. I haven't dropped it. It's still in the palm of my hand, but I'm not clutching on to this destructive device so dearly anymore. I try as best I can to neutralize the negativity with affirmation. I've gotten better at deploying my inner parent to support my own inner child, because sometimes you gotta hold your own hand in this life. You deserve care, and who better to give you that than yourself? You get to this age, your brain fully clicks in, and suddenly you're looking at childhood photos of you when you're 8 years old, just wondering how you could have ever hated her. In fact, I need to put up a picture of 8-year-old Kath to remind myself that in many ways, when I am shitting on myself, that is who I am berating. 5, I have finally realized that it is not worth trying to appeal to people talking to me in bad faith. Listen, I'm an outspoken gal. I put myself and my values and my beliefs and my politics at the forefront of who I am. I put it all out there, and I would never be so unreasonable as to expect everyone I interact with or even am friends with to hold identical political analyses of everything. I am happy to talk about contentious topics with people, but If I sense that the other person is not in it for the enriching conversation and rather just listening for what they disagree with, that is not my circus and not my monkeys. I have no business being in that conversation. Number 6, I have let go of manipulating my hair so much. I grew up treating my beautiful wavy curls like toxic waste and flat ironing them into submission because I didn't think that my natural could be beautiful. The beauty standard, it migrates all the time. Low rises in, thin eyebrows are where it's at, straight hair is everything. Then suddenly low rises out. The thicker the eyebrows, the better. Curly hair is cool. It gives me whiplash. I've just reached the cusp of experiencing a trend cycle for the second time in my life. I was around for Y2K and it's back, baby. It's recirculating. And that is why you probably see the older generations just give up with staying on trend. Because literally, who has the energy to be constantly monitoring how your physical appearance tracks with the norm? First of all, most of those trends aren't inclusive of fat bodies or people of color or non-binary people. Some of these trends are fun and I enjoy adopting them into my wardrobe or my appearance, but that doesn't mean that once freckles and curly hair are no longer coveted in 3, 5, 10, 15 years that I should start powdering my face and getting keratin treatments again. No. I would literally rather be chronically out of fashion than bend over backwards to resist what's authentic to me. 7, 25, and now 26 have marked detachment from cool as a performance. What does that mean? Trying to be seen as cool is a lost cause to me. And I acknowledge that perhaps this is a hot take. Coolness requires being somewhat unimpassioned, reserved. You can't care too much and still be cool. You can't really nerd out about something because that's not chill. That's not chill vibes. Disinterest seems inherent to maintaining the elusiveness that seems to be key in an air of coolness. It's very much a performance. I'm not a theater kid. Performance does not appeal to me. And I would rather spend time around people that don't take themselves too seriously and are just down to clown and be cringe. I don't want to feel as though the people around me are policing how cool I am. Attaching yourself to relevance and vibe shifts, pertaining your values and your worth to a sense of coolness is straight up weirdo behavior to me. To be honest, you stay safe though. Number 8, putting on a front with new people is now too exhausting. I can't mask who I am anymore. It could be my hairdresser, it could be my chiropractor, it could be the front desk receptionist at the gym, but I no longer want to pull back to fit in some imaginary box that I think other people would want to see me fit into. I'm a whole ass person that's not for everybody, but the toll of restricting myself from being fully myself has started to materialize in my life. Yeah, maybe they'll think it's weird that when they asked what I'm up to this weekend, I said I'm going to a full moon sound bath and getting my astrocartography reading done. But they could also easily get a kick out of that and appreciate that somebody had something they could actually engage with rather than just nothing much, just seeing some friends. I don't know why that type of response just seems so deflating to me. I'd rather just be a little kooky and run the risk of them judging me. 9, resentment, hard pill to swallow. That's on you, not them. You gotta speak your truth or stay silent. Resentment forever will be drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It's a bitter realization I've come to that it is up to you to make your needs, concerns, annoyances known. Like any married couple you've ever known has argued about, nobody has the ability to read your mind. You gotta accept the things you can't change or change the things you can't accept, baby. If your roommate sitting in the living room all the time makes you bitter because you feel like you aren't entitled to the space, say something or make peace with it. Maybe the person you've been traveling with over the past week seems like they're making all the decisions without considering you. It would be great if they realized their own behavior was what caused you to sort of pull back and feel resentful, but honestly, have some compassion for your fellow human and just give them the heads up of why you're acting weird so you can resolve it. It's another form of self-sabotage made to keep you in your sour era, and honestly, once the resentment is there, it is very hard to vacuum it out. Number 10, it is time to develop a beginner's mind with art making, with new languages. I am a reformed perfectionist. For the longest time, I wondered, like, do I enjoy the things I do because I'm good at them? Or am I good at them because I enjoy doing them? But being a beginner at something complicates that. As a beginner, suddenly I'm in a really vulnerable spot where I have no familiarity to fall back on, no experience to justify why I'm there. Turns out I'm just taking a trapeze lesson because why not? And turns out I'm writing an anthology of poetry because it's just a medium that interests me, no other reason. Transitions will always be hard, and those first few stages of learning a new thing can bruise your very human ego and make you question if you should really be doing that thing or if it's even worth it to put the time in to get past stage 0. But in reality, those are such precious environments for you to be a part of and to detach from your ego's desire to be an expert and allow yourself to take things less seriously. That being said, I am 26 years old, not 62 years old. I am not pretending I have it all figured out. I'm not pretending anybody has it all figured out. I betray my higher self all the time. It's not like once my prefrontal cortex turned on, I never had an off day again. If anything, life's a little heavier, a little harder with all of this considered. But I feel so much more grounded in who I am and what a good quality of life really means to me that I'm willing to accept some of these hard truths into my life. Of the 10 realizations for my 26th year I covered here, comment down below which one resonated with you the most and why. If this video did connect with you at all, I'd super appreciate a thumbs up. And especially if you've gotten this far in the video to hear me say this, you're probably a good candidate for subscribing. So that red button is calling your name. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you all next time, and Katherout.
I love you a lot, but everyone else on this planet is an idiot.